We can all go back and remember a series or some piece of media that we thoroughly enjoyed. Then we slowly part from it. Then many years go by and we look back and wonder, was it as good as I remember? Sometimes we do dive back in and end up disappointed. Other times, we dive back in and end up shocked. Not only seeing the thing we cherish so much was not just good, but in fact, was even better than we remembered. Well, for this series, that is definitely the case. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look into a series cherished by many. Let's dive in to the manga series known as Blue Exorcist. Okay, just a massive FYI here. Gonna let you guys know that there are some spoilers for the manga. However, I try to be very sparing though, and I'll warn you when I talk about some crucial details, okay? So let's dive in. Blue Exorcist stars Rin Akamura, just an average teenage delinquent whose twin brother is off somewhere working, while his father Fujimoto is a priest at a church. Things go well enough until everything goes terribly wrong one day where he discovers he is the son of the devil himself, Satan. Fujimoto then gives Rin more details and a Koma sword which houses Rin's power. Many years ago when Rin was born, Fujimoto sealed his power into the blade and kept the blade within its sheath so that Rin could at least live a semblance of a normal life. Well, now we see how well that turned out. Things take a turn for the worst when Big Daddy Blue himself possesses Fujimoto and attempts to take Rin. But before he does anything, Fujimoto takes what little control he has and lets Rin deal a lethal blow to the devil, which leads to Fujimoto's death. What happens next is Rin working at the True Cross Order, an organization that is composed of individuals who specialize in dealing with supernatural threats, demons primarily. His teacher being nobody else but his own twin brother, Yukio. What follows is Rin, Yukio, as well as several others dealing with various threats, as well as the major conflict being that the son of the devil himself is a fellow student at the True Cross Academy. Now, what made Blue Exorcist special was the characters, the plot, as well as the action. And let me tell you, going through this series again was a fantastic blast, seeing some of the gags, iconic moments, and character interactions play out, as well as the amazing action sequences that are all illustrated to a superb degree. Another thing to note is that there are some detailed differences between the anime and manga in the beginning. Some are minor and some are major, as is the case in most adaptations, but it should not be much of a shock to mention that the anime only covers 8 or 9 volumes of the manga or so, which ends in a bit of a anime-only filler ending, which is par for the course and for most series, sadly. But it is funny looking back seeing Yuri, Rin and Yukio's mother, at the anime's ending and seeing the full backstory pretty much nearly 90 chapters in and seeing how different the two actually are, something that I will talk about in a bit. Now, what makes Rin work as the main character is his internal conflict that, well, he's the son of the most evil being in the universe, and his main goal is to train up, tame the blue flame, and use it to kick his father's ass. But as the story progresses, Rin grows and opens up a bit more, and acknowledges that he does not need to go on this journey alone. This also ties with the other characters learning to trust him again, since at the beginning, Rin pretty much makes an effort to keep this side of him a secret, especially since several of the characters are victims or related to victims of the Blue Night, a disastrous event caused by Satan, leading to the deaths of many people. So you can pretty much imagine how they would react if someone who was his child was not only at the academy, but also the student assigned to their class specifically. But as the series progresses, they eventually warm back up to Rin, and you see a bond strengthen between the characters. Now, another thing to mention in regards to Blue Exorcist is arguably the heart of it is the brotherly bond and relationship between Yukio and Rin. Now, there are a number of shonen series where the main protagonists are siblings, whether it be two brothers, two sisters, brother and sister, etc., etc. One of the more notable being the Elric brothers from Fullmetal Alchemist. And kind of similar to that, where the two characters' relationship with each other, in a way, are actually like what sets this series apart from other shonen. And what the anime did well enough was adapt the bond and relationship between the two. Now, what the manga does and what happens later on is that there are crucial moments and crucial events that do happen later on, and it is astonishing actually seeing how the characters change and seeing how that bond is actually tested and strained as the story progresses, and seeing where, and without getting into too many spoilers, the two characters do separate for a time, and you do see how different things are for both of them, and you'll see how they try to adjust to that. And honestly, that's a bit of a strength to it. Again, to mention, that's actually like one of the things like about Blue Exorcist that I enjoyed a lot, and a lot of people enjoyed a lot, because like Yukio and Ren's camaraderie is like what made the series for a lot of people, as well as the side characters. But Yukio and Ren are like legit iconic, and you can just recognize them from a mile away because they've earned that spot. And it's nice to actually see how much progression, how things change even further down the line, as there even is a bit of a rivalry that actually happens later on, especially in regards to Yukio's character and such. Like legit, it's actually insanely put together and so well done, and props to the mangaka. Like, oh my god, it's like so good. In regards to Yukio, despite him not having the same power as his twin at first, that does not mean Yukio can't beat Ren or that he is weak. Hell, he's the teacher at the academy for a reason. Also, I will say now that the anime does not do his character as much justice, primarily because the fact that it only adapted the early arcs. And seeing where the story ends up after several chapters and several arcs, you see some massive developments in Yukio's character, which leads to a very crucial point to the series, one that affects everything going forward. Now, that's not me saying the anime is bad by any means, or a poor adaptation. In fact, the exact opposite. It's just something to point out to how much Yukio changes as the manga continues, something that if the anime is still on or live today, you would actually see that progression some more. It's just the sad nature of it ending how it did. So seeing that and looking back into the anime really drives a knife in the chest, since, well, like other series, really sucks knowing where the story was going to end up, and that the original anime will never really cover it. Hopefully it gets a continuation soon, or a reboot, or something. Judging by all the series coming back, please, can we get a continuation? Just give me a continuation. I practically had a heart attack when Spice and Wolf got a new anime announcement. I will die with the widest smile on my face if Blue Exorcist came back. Honestly, please, just make it happen. Just make it happen, people. And it's not just Yukio that gets more development. Ryuji, Kamiki, Shura, and Mephisto, and several others get reveals, twists, and play a role in the arcs that follow as the series progresses. Kamiki and Ryuji in particular actually end up being some of my favorite side characters in the series, with Shura being my personal fave, to be honest. Hey, girl kicks a lot of ass, what can I say? And as mentioned, there are a number of story arcs that happen after the Emperor King arc, or final batch of episodes for the series for the anime onlys. And I will say here, some of the arcs actually get better as the series goes on. My personal favorites being the Illuminati, Aorori, Hachimoritaro, and the Blue Knight Remembrance arcs. Now, the Illuminati arc is rather, as the name implies, a massive organization whose sole purpose is to work under powerful demons, in this case Lucifer, who, in this universe, Lucifer and Satan are two different entities. This is a manga after all. And that not only are they waging open war against the True Cross Order, there is a traitor among the students, and this leads to a massive reveal, but I won't spoil it and say who it is, but trust me, it's a bit of a doozy, and you will want to go back and check, see if there were hints, to see if this character or was foreshadowed to actually not be exactly who they actually said they were. Overall, the arc actually sets up future events for the series going forward, and also hints at events that will be revealed later on. Now, the Illuminati, granted, is another antagonist group to go up against for our main leads, but I will say they do pose a threat, and they do expand the world in a pretty neat way, as well as tie into the backstories of multiple characters. As for the Aomori arc, this storyline Shura has gone missing, and Mephisto has tasked our demon-hunting twins to find her. Well, that's me simplifying it. There is a lot more that happens with this arc, and with Shura we learn a bit more about her and her family history. We also get some bonding between Ren and Yukio early on, and these moments are always the charm that sets Blue Exorcist from other series similar to it. Now for the Blue Knight Remembrance arc, I'm gonna get into it, so spoilers galore for this part. Granted, I will not bring up every single solitary detail, but we'll go over the broad strokes of the story. So for those who watch the anime, you do get a glimpse of Yuri, but that is technically anime original content since, well, Rin's birth was a lot more explosive. But let's get into the events leading up to it. So Yuri was homeless when she was little. She actually lived with others that shared in her predicament. We see in these moments she actually unknowingly bonds with Satan, but at this point, he has not developed full conscience yet or an ego. Reminder, this is a manga and not an issue of Hellblazer. But regardless, it was these moments that a connection between Yuri and the father of the twins have been formed. A little later afterwards, she actually runs into Fujimoto, and they're not really on best of terms since, well, she kind of stumbled onto his little box and started eating some of his food. This leads to the Knights finding the two and them being exorcists in training. We see them both grow, and despite Fujimoto trying to be distant from Yuri, they both do have some sort of bond for each other and are given a little glimpse of a relationship that, well, in all fairness, could have happened, but sadly didn't. Fast forward to much later, thanks to some shenanigans, Satan has controlled a body, but he's still rather like a child mentally. He's locked in a room for Yuri to watch over him and mother him. But everything comes crashing down, however, when he discovers his true nature and what he truly is. A being of total destruction. What follows is pure chaos, and in an act of selflessness, Yuri offers herself to him to protect the other members of the Order. Satan agrees to these terms, and we see later how the twins came to be. Born in blue flames, we see the firstborn of the twins, Rin, wake up, and does as he's created, destroy. Soon after, Yukio is born. It is also here we see how Fujimoto sealed Rin's power into flames into his blade. Here we see the faithful knight that set everything into motion. The event and reason why many of our characters decide to become exorcists. The Blue Knight. In the midst of this chaos, we see Satan has found Yuri and Fujimoto and possesses his body. We see his selfish nature. He sees he has two children and does not care for either of them, only Yuri. She tells him his destructive nature is why they cannot be together, and that because of his actions that led to this moment, she cannot love him. We see the beast scream at her, asking her after everything he did for her, how much he loved her. How could she not love him back? She responds, that is not love. If it is not clear already, that is a massive dark implication that Rin and Yukio were not something Yuri did by choice, that in fact it is possible and more than likely that Satan forced himself onto Yuri. Fujimoto fends off Satan and he leaves his body. In the midst of the chaos, Fujimoto takes Yuri and they leave out into the blizzard. As they walk into the snow, it is apparent that Yuri does not have much strength left in her and leads the boys to Fujimoto. The two continue to struggle in the snow and Fujimoto tries to lighten Yuri's spirits by telling her once they finally make it, they will raise the boys. Yuri starts to tear up at the statement. Fujimoto hears a thud in the snow. Turns around to see Yuri has collapsed on the ground. He rushes to her and picks her up and continues to carry all three of them. Fujimoto continues to have high hopes for the future and tells Yuri of all the things they will do as a family. Watching the trees blossom, go to the beach, have fireworks, and eat watermelon. Yuri tells Fujimoto that he should raise them how he wants. That he will be the real father. Yuri loses her grip and collapses on the ground. Fujimoto grabs her and asks her if she is okay. She does not respond. He tells her they are almost there, that is not far. Yuri only slowly wakes up, only to say one thing. He tells her sons to be good brothers to each other, and she closes her eyes one more time. Fujimoto shakes her, begs her not to go. He confesses his love for her, now, at this moment, but as he tells her this, he sees that there is no life left in her, and he screams in agony.
Somebody save me! 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 Please don't erase me!
Reading this arc was painful, to say the least. We see many things and events play out in this arc. Blue Knight, how Rin and Yukio were born, and how things were set in motion by the beginning of this series. Now, in recent chapters, things got a little nuts to say the least. Without giving too much away, God knows I did that enough already, but to say things got a little hot would be an understatement. Yeah, soon after the Remembrance arc, our main cast actually fight the big man himself, and boy, it is a damn good fight. Seeing the literal years of build up to this moment and seeing it finally culminate in this massive battle was just breathtaking to say the least. Seeing Rin and Yukio's journey, their bond, rivalry, and reunion play a factor in this fight was also something that was just perfectly done, in all honesty. And seeing Yukio deal the final blow was nothing short of just badass in every step. But that is not where the series itself ends. Even though it seems that there is not much story left after this, the manga is still continuing, and let me tell you, catching up to all of it was a journey I wish I could do again for the first time. And like many other series, it's painful waiting for the next chapter to come out, and hopefully it continues soon, because I would just love to see if that time skip actually happens, or we get to see Rin become the Demon King himself, or maybe he becomes the final villain, or maybe there's more to this world than just what was actually shown. Maybe there's another big bad out there, but we shall see. So, Blue Exorcist. Yeah, it's pretty fucking sweet. Being a fan of the anime when it first came out, I honestly can't say how much I loved going through the manga. And to all the people who loved the anime as well as I did, but did not get around to checking out the manga, go ahead, do yourself a favor, check it out. My only warning though is that when you catch up, you're gonna be waiting just like the rest of us. But par for the course, I guess. So on that note, guys, be sure to leave a like, comment, sub to the channel, ring the bell, all that good jazz. Take care. Stay chill, Wanderers.